Hi, my name is Lauren Pass Erickson, and I'm a somatic psychotherapist based in Boulder and Louisville, Colorado. And I'm here today to give you a book review. I'm going to be talking about this book, Polysecure, Attachment, Trauma, and Consensual Non-Monogamy by Jessica Fern. I just finished this recently. There's been a lot of buzz about this book in the past year or so, so I finally got to pick it up and I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it if you've been thinking about picking it up. It's really good. And as a therapist with my knowledge on attachment styles and things like that, I really stand behind everything that she says. It's really well done. And before I go any further, I just want to say that I'm not affiliated with this book in any way. I'm getting no perks out of making this video, but just want to share with you a little bit about my thoughts in case you might be interested. So first of all, who would I recommend this book for? Definitely anyone who's engaging in consensual non-monogamy or polyamory. If you're seeking to better understand relationship dynamics at play and how to make things go well, this book is for you. If you're wanting to deepen your connection and security with your partners, there's both a lot of theory about kind of the background of attachment theory and things like that, as well as a lot of practical application. So I think you'll be really satisfied if that's what you're looking for. I also would recommend this book to people who are monogamous or maybe poly-curious, because there's so much good stuff in here about attachment styles and especially the practical part about how to build security in your relationships. Of course, this is really geared towards polyamory and really specific to that relationship style and that community. But I think anyone in any relationship honestly can benefit from the way that she lays all of this out. So if that's something that's of interest to you, building security and intimacy in your partnerships, whether it's one person or multiple people, I think this book will serve you well. And I would definitely recommend this book to any therapists or counselors out there who are working with poly clients and want to be better able to help polyamorous clients. And if you want to better understand polyamory and approach it from an evidence-based attachment perspective, this will be a great resource for you as well. So who is this book not for? I would not recommend this to you if you are someone who is deeply offended by polyamory. If you don't want to hear about it at all, then obviously you're not going to be reading this book. Also, if you're just kind of like, what is this polyamory thing? I've never heard of that. I don't know what's going on. I would probably send you somewhere else first. If you're seeking like a basic explanation of polyamory or kind of what's happening culturally with the increase in polyamory in this particular moment in time, I would do some other reading or some other exploration first if you're brand new to this topic, rather than starting here, because this is rather in depth. So I don't think it's probably going to be your first thing you pick up if you have not ever heard of polyamory before. Also, though it talks about trauma in the title, there's a little bit of discussion of trauma in this book, but if you're looking for a book on trauma and relationships, I think this is not it. There are a lot of other things written about complex trauma and trauma within attachment and things like that. There's so many great resources. So if you're really looking for something trauma-centered, I would probably send you somewhere else. And lastly, if you're looking for just like a quick read or like quick tips on relationships or things like that, this is also not it. This book gets pretty in depth, which I really love. And it's certainly not too heavy. I read through it pretty fast. You're not going to get bogged down in it most likely. But it's also not, a super quick, easy approach, which I probably wouldn't recommend anyway. But if that's what you're looking for, this is not it. So what are you going to find in here? Basically, the first section goes through attachment theory and attachment styles. And if you're like, what is that? Attachment theory is basically one framework for understanding how we show up in relationships and how we understand things like commitment and trust and intimacy with our partners based on experiences that we had as an infant and throughout our lives. We'll develop what's called an attachment style, which is sort of like a specific pattern of relating to others that will show up across your relationships. Whether you're well versed in attachment theory or if this is a brand new topic for you, doesn't matter. I think that Jessica Fern did a really wonderful job of explaining attachment styles. It was really nice to read, even if you're familiar with the topic, and very accessible if you're not familiar with the topic. She goes through kind of where attachment styles come from and how they form and how they impact adults in their relationships. And I also really like that she extends that theory beyond the interpersonal relationships to talk about homes and communities and society and how attachment theory and attachment styles kind of play out there as well. So very well done. I really like her explanation of all of it. It's very relatable the way it's written. The second part of the book is all about consensual non-monogamy. And again, I think she does a really good job, whether you're well versed in the topic or if it's new, just talking about different relationship styles, different types of non-monogamy. Some of that I had not really seen laid out the way that she does in the book. So that was really nice. And then of course she fuses that with attachment theory and talks about how attachment theory is relevant to poly relationships and what it means to build security with multiple people rather than just one partner. So again, really nicely written. And then the third part is all of the practical stuff. She presents her model for how to build security in relationships, regardless of what your attachment style is. And this is where you get all the fun, good stuff, where you get the reflection questions, you get some practical suggestions, and you get it kind of broken down into different categories of things that you can work on in yourself and in your relationships to feel more secure. And I love this. And again, whether you're poly or not, it's really nice because when I'm working with clients on attachment styles and relationships and things like that, after we've kind of talked through it a little bit and worked on the person's, kind of sorted out the person's attachment style a little bit, always there's the next question that comes up, which is like, well, okay, I know my attachment style, I know some of my patterns. What do I do with that now? Like, what's the next step? Like, how do I work with this? How do I start to build more security in my relationships? And that's a complicated answer, of course, but she does a really fabulous job of breaking that down into some really digestible pieces, talking about some really foundational things that can help you build security in your relationship. So it was such a great resource to be able to give to clients. And again, if you're a therapist or a counselor watching this, it's really a helpful way to think about it when you're working with people. So I think that's probably going to be the most juicy, exciting part of the book for most people, is that part 3, which is she calls it the hearts model. And I won't go through the whole thing. You can read the book. You can skip to that section if you want. It's really great. So awesome job, Jessica Fern. I really loved it. I recommend it. If it sounds like you're interested in the topics and the things that I mentioned, definitely get a copy. It will be really worth your time. So I'm going to end there, but again, my name is Lauren. I'm a private practice therapist in Boulder and Louisville, Colorado. So feel free to reach out if you are looking for some support around your own attachment style or relationships or your experience of polyamory. I would be happy to talk and see if we could work together and I could be a support in that. And you can find me at naturalembodiment.org. or my email is lauren@naturalembodiment.org, and I would love to hear from you.